Hello and welcome to another Game Nexus main review. Today we're going to be taking a look at X-Men vs. Street Fighter on the Capcom Play System 2 arcade hardware, released in September of 1996. This is the first game in the infamous Versus series, and here's your intro.
X-Men versus Street Fighter! This is X-Men versus Street Fighter!
Okay, let's get right into this. So I'm going to select Cammy here, because as everybody knows, she's my favorite character. And I just think it's cool to select Akuma, because he's a pretty cool character here. And actually, what's strange is a lot of people didn't know he actually was in this game, because you have to actually select above the grid. And now, as opposed to like Super Street Fighter 2 or anything, if you like came off of that game, this game is just very cartoony in look. It's like more anime-esque as compared to Super Street Fighter 2 or even Street Fighter 2, which just kind of had a more realistic type look. And Akuma's pretty cool here. The only thing I don't like about him in this game is he just kind of grunts. He doesn't like really say anything at all. Like in other games, he'll actually have actual speech. The only time he'll actually say anything at all is when he does special moves. Now in this game, there are 9 characters from each stable, X-Men and the Street Fighter. On the X-Men side, you have Apocalypse, Cyclops, Gambit. You have Juggernaut, Magneto, Rogue, Sabretooth, Storm, and Wolverine. And then on the Street Fighter side, of course, there is Akuma, and then Cammy, who of course is here. Then you have Charlie, Chun-Li, Dalcium, Ken Masters, M. Bison. Of course, he's known as Vega in Japan. We have Ryu and Zangief. Now, going into the history of this game a little bit, as I had mentioned, this was the first Versus game. One little side note here is in the one stage, if you look very carefully on the rocks, you can actually see Blanca there, which is actually kind of cool. The one thing I find a little weird is I actually read a report somewhere where it says that they always choose the same team no matter what you do, but I've simply not found that happening, at least in the playthroughs I've done here. And keep in mind, I'm not all that great at this game. The only reason I'm even as good as you see me playing here right now is, yeah, I've been at this for a few hours now to actually get good enough to win a few battles in a row. So yeah, what you see is the result of a lot of practice. I've never been all that great at these hardcore Versus games. And of course, as you had seen earlier, since this is the USA version of this game, it has the recycle it, don't trash it thing in the beginning. And then of course there's other American arcade versions which have winners don't do drugs and stuff to that extent. The only thing I find annoying with Cyclops here a little bit is he tends to overuse and spam his optic blast. Although at least that's not as bad as some of the times I was trying to play this and you verse Ken Masters, and all he wants to do is Shoryuken. I'm not kidding. It's not even like spamming Shoryuken. It's Shoryuken, 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 and he just won't stop. Especially if you're in the corner, he'll just keep pounding you. Now, of course, just like about every game released in Japan, there was the soundtrack by Victor Entertainment released on November 21st of 1996. Of course, fans of the series will already know this, but in Japan, Akuma is known as Goki in the Japanese version, which I just mentioned. Akuma means devil, whereas Goki means powerful Oni. And an Oni is a Japanese mystical creature, kind of like a demon or an ogre. Now, as far as the console releases of this, it was released on the Sega Saturn in 1997. That required the 4 meg RAM cartridge, which I do actually have. And it allowed for a really faithful arcade port, which was really nice, considering at the time you weren't really accustomed to see any of the 2D games really have all their, at least most of their arcade kind of animations and everything like you see here. And then that following year, in 1998, we got the Sony PlayStation release. And what I was mentioning in 97, the Sega Saturn release, that was the 4 meg RAM Dokori Ban, which is the release with the 4 meg RAM cartridge. It wasn't until April of 1998 that you got your standalone version for people who already had the cartridge, I guess, or people who just didn't want to have to buy the cartridge with it. But this is one of the many games on the Japanese Sega Saturn that just will not work at all without the cartridge, so you have to have that. On the Sony PlayStation, the version released in 1998, it didn't require any kind of add-on cartridge, but you couldn't freely tag unless both players chose the same characters. That's the only time you could actually have a tag mode, which was a little bit sad. And it's also telling me here that in 2002, this game was released on the PC. Now, I definitely love these super moves, although compared to some games where like you do, let's say a double Hadoken and the double quarter circle forward and then like the punch or the kick. In this game, it's quarter circle forward or back, and then all 3 punches or all 3 kicks, which is just a little bit different if you ask me compared to some games. And honestly, I was just surprised I did so well when I was playing this game, because yeah, if you had seen me playing, you would have probably cringed a little bit if you're a longtime fan of this series. And I just love that move that Cammy does, where she's like kicking like from every possible direction, killing her enemy. It's just one of the coolest looking things. And then we just have Zangief and the Juggernaut here. It's like the 2 biggest characters in the game are both fighting together. And I can honestly tell you, when I was young and I first saw Zangief, I was a little bit afraid of him, because he just was this big burly man with like hair all over his chest, and he just wants like bear hug you. That's just a little creepy if you ask me. And then we have our Oni guy here, Akuma. And that's another thing you'll notice with all of Zangief's throws. He'll do that charging thing, and then he'll come up to you. And some of these stages are actually pretty cool, and that's one thing I always liked about this game, is how the actual characters' music kind of played when they were on the screen, and it was kind of like a more or less remixed, revitalized version of the music, so it kind of like had into that everything is like now fresh again type look of the game, how it's all anime-esque, and then we have this remixed music, and it just blends to a really good mix here. And the first time I had ever seen the Juggernaut in this game, I was just thinking to myself, oh my god, he's humongous, he'll probably kill everybody, and then I realized he can be a little slow sometimes, so if you're a really fast character like Cammy here, you might not have as much of a problem with him. And yeah, I was surprised that he wasn't as hard of a character as I had initially thought. And sadly, I didn't get to show it into this video, but several of my other attempts to do several stages in a row in this game, I had first Sabretooth, and I just love it when he throws his jacket to that girl, and he's like, here, keep this. I don't know why, I just love that. I just think it's the funniest thing in this game. And then, of course, here's Charlie, and honestly, when I first saw Charlie, I never liked him. I was like, oh, he's like Guile, but just not as cool, but I guess he has his place. And And the game for Dreamcast, which is called Cannon Spike, named after Cammy's move, of course, he's playable as well. One of these days I'm going to show that game. Of course, if for some reason I've already shown it, I'll just kind of put a little link somewhere on the video here or even in the description. And I know a lot of people are going to get mad at me, but I always thought it was funny that there was this game show background here. I never quite understood what the actual deal was with it. But, you know, people are going to say, oh, that was in the comic book, or oh, that was here. But, yeah. That's one thing I've always liked in games, especially, like, as I was mentioning earlier, the special moves. I liked how they did that whole shadow thing. It reminds me a little bit of Johnny Cage doing some of his moves in Mortal Kombat. But, yeah, if you're really looking for a good versus game, a good versus fighting game, X-Men vs. Street Fighter honestly can't be beat. It's a really great game, and I especially like it because, of course, it has Cammy, so I really can't lose there. And the arcade version is just a very smooth, great version. Runs great on Mame, runs great on other emulators. So if there's no reason not to have this game. You could even emulate it on portable devices like the PSP or even the Xbox or other consoles or computers. But I highly recommend giving this one a try if you haven't already, because it's definitely worth your time. And it is a really fun game to spend some time with, and especially if you like the X-Men and the Street Fighter characters. So this has been another Game Nexus Mame review, and I shall see you later in my next video. Bye.